is divine. Jamaica, Africa. I and I is divine. I and I is empty. I and I is rich. I and I is wealthy. I and I is divine. I and I is empty. I and I is divine. I and I is the heavenly seed. I and I is divine. Highly high, highly high, Selassie high, Rasta, the living man, the conquering lion. I and I is divine. I and I is the heavenly seed. I and I. I and I is divine. Jamaica, Africa. I and I is divine. I and I is empty. I and I is divine. Marcus, Mosiah, Ngavi, I and I is divine. I and I is empty. I and I is rich. I and I is wealthy. I and I is divine. I and I is empty. I and I is the heavenly seed. I and I is divine. Highly